Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Gigabyte X58 overclock. Now I have already done like an introduction video about this board and all the features about it, and then I've done quite an extended amount of other videos about me using it, testing it, really getting to know it. This wasn't a 5-minute review by any stretch of the imagination. Now what I'm going to do is, you will see that I'll put links up to show you where the other videos are, just so that you can click those and watch them if you want to, and then you can go back and you can find it. But obviously this is going to be kind of like the overview about the board. It is going to be a lot of me chatting. So it's going to be one of those weird reviews where we are going to have to go and watch other bits and stuff like that. And I apologise, but to be perfectly honest with you, it's because this board has an immense amount to offer. One thing that I would say now, I've had several conversations with people about this, and the X58 overclock is absolutely amazing. It's designed from the ground up by High Cookie to be a proper full-on overclocking base motherboard. Now one thing I will say is this: if you want to say, for argument's sake, you've got an i7 950 for argument's sake, and you're looking to put this in your rig, chuck a graphics card in it, overclock your processor with your graphics card and all in there, and then run it and play games and stuff on it. If that's the type of thing that you're looking to do, you're probably going to miss the point of the board, and you probably won't see the benefits as much as other people. This board is about eking every last ounce of performance out of your CPU, your graphics card, the whole package, and then benchmarking it to try and break records. It's all about taking that 1/10 of a second off of a bench run, or getting that extra 50 points on a 3D Mark run. I mean, that's why there's, if you have a look at the back panel, there's not very many connections on the back, and that's just because if you've got loads there, that's all extra stuff that's going to be running on the PCI Express bus, for example. So the fact that there's, everything's been whittled down, this is literally just for proper high-end overclocks, pushes, benchmark runs, stuff like that. So it's a shame really, because it does look the part. It's not kind of a really ugly vanilla board or anything like that. The aesthetics of the board are amazing, but I mean, obviously there are going to be people that are going to go black and orange, amazing, only one board for me, and it will be an absolutely stonking board, especially considering the fact that you can pick them up for about £250. What I'm trying to say is the time that the X58 overclock extends its lead away from other motherboards is when you really start to push it and really start to hound the overclocks, basically. Now when I got this board sent to me in the first place, I've been overclocking for a long time. I know my way around an X58 BIOS. I mean, 4 GHz is just it's easy to get to. My highest overclock to date before getting this board on air was 5.2 GHz, just for a CPU-Z screenshot on my 990. Now during testing, I got my 980X to 5.945 GHz, and that's where it decided to die. The processor just died. I was putting too much voltage through it. The dry ice wasn't cool enough to be able to put the voltage up that high, and through inexperience, which was no fault, nobody else's fault but my own, I did kill the 980. So I think we should take a moment to remember the 980 and the amazing work it did for us, like a little memorial. And I think I am going to be getting it engraved, and that's going to end up going for sale on eBay as a charity auction. This is something I'm working on. It's not going to be happening instantly. I've got a couple of things that I need to do and get ticked off before I can do that, because technically the process is not mine, it's an engineering sample, and it reminds them actually technically it belongs to Intel, so I've got to wait for agreement from Intel to be able to do it first. But anyway, we're going to be doing some other stuff as well. But yeah, the 990, I happily hit 6 GHz. I did see, and this was one of the things that I didn't kind of like post about. I got my 6 GHz with hyper threading on, everything turned, you know, the way it should be. The QPI was set to the, you know, the right time, which was times 36, which is 7.2 GHz. It wasn't on slow mode or anything like that, and I still managed to get 6 GHz. With hyper threading off, QPI turned down, with the same volts, I actually managed to get the processor up to 6.37 GHz. So I was a smidgen off of 6.4 GHz with the 990 on dice. Obviously that was just CPU-Z stable, so we just got in, got screenshots and stuff like that, and yeah, I may put that up on HWBot should anyone nudge me off of the top UK slot. And that's another thing, is remembering that I've never sub-zero overclocked before, and it was late one evening because I'd waited for it to get cold. Within about 45 minutes to an hour of me booting the 990 for the first time, with this board I was at 6 GHz. And basically what I did, is, as you'll see in the other videos, you've got the selection of buttons at the top there. And the most crucial buttons, and every single overclocker out there is going to, you know, proper overclocker is going to absolutely love it, is the multiply bump buttons and the frequency bump buttons. They are a godsend. They are the reason why I got 6 GHz, because I was booting in at 5.9, which was the most I could get to with the 990. And then it was a couple of frequency notches up, and that was it. 6.003 GHz, absolutely, you know, dead easy. It really wasn't that difficult, and that's one of the things that I really can't understand with this. I mean, yeah, okay, if I'd have spent a lot more time, I could have got better W prime runs, I could have done this, but we've got to remember that, you know, this was a review and we've been doing it for ages, and we can't spend weeks and weeks and weeks, and I don't mind admitting that I'm not the, you know what I mean, I'm not a professional overclocker, but I'm not a full-on professional overclocker, and yet I've got the fastest 990X in the country thanks to this board. Now my chip wasn't, you know, cherry picked or anything like that, it was just an Intel sample that was sent to me. High cookie with this board and the chips that he was getting. I'm not sure whether he was on dry ice or whether he was using liquid nitrogen. I think he might have been on liquid nitrogen, but he was the fastest in the world at one point with 7.3 GHz, 7.2 GHz, sorry. And that's what this board is all about. It's about absolutely nuts overclocks, eking every last, you know what I mean, ounce out of your whole system. And it is absolutely phenomenal. There is no, you know, you can't not understand why this is amazing. But if you go and have a look at the other videos, I show you how I insulated the board, I show you how I set the board up. We did some basic CPU-Z, you know, hunts for CPU-Z, including the 6 GHz run with the 990. Then what I then actually did is I made some videos where I dropped the clock down to 5.4 GHz, only 5.4 GHz, but this was stable. We were running all our benchmarks like this. We were 3D marking, W priming, yeah, you know, run everything through with that, and 5.4 GHz stable, and it was at 1.56 volts, I believe. I could have gone further, but the reason why I dropped back was to show, once with 5.4 it was a reasonable clock. Once I was trying to go for sort of like 5, 6, 5, 7, 5, 8, the volts were significantly more. I was almost back up at the 6 GHz kind of voltage. So what I was trying to do was show you that you know, I didn't want astronomical voltages, basically, let's put it that way. I knew I was going to be benching. When I was actually doing the benches, it was I was there for 4 or 5 hours flat, with literally every time the system finished, you know, running the benches, I was screenshotting, getting everything set up, and then running something, well, restarting, and then running something else. So we were there for a long time. But this is something that I do need to stress. In fact, I'm going to get you off the camera and show you quickly, because it's still here.
I left it all like this, but the thing is, what a lot of people don't realise is High Cookie was very aware of the fact of the uses that this board was going to get used for, and when you pull all the putty off, because of the way the board was laid out, putty doesn't get stuck. And by what I mean doesn't get stuck is, it's actually quite warm in here today, but if you have a look, I've just pulled the putty off and you can see it's all off. Now the reason why it does this is the board is actually, they've kept everything as clean as you possibly can do, so you've got no horrible capacitors kind of hanging around all over the place and stuff for the putty to get stuck into. So by keeping it all clean and open, it's easy to get in there, so you can use your electrical tape if you want to, get your putty in there. So it's all kept open. Everything you could ask for really for this board has pretty much been thought of and done for you. The only thing that I would have said would have been I'd like to have had the memory slot slightly further away from the CPU, but the reason why they're like that is because of these buttons. But these are the buttons that I said to you about that are so crucial. This 4 GHz button is brilliant if you're just booting in for the first time. Press the button down, press start, it will boot in at 200 times 20, find the clock for you, and then you've got a brilliant kind of place to start there and start your tweaking. Easy peasy. Or if you've been doing sub-zero stuff and you've got a ridiculous, like for argument's sake you're running 1.7, 1.8 volts, click that, press start, and you can actually then go in and, for argument's sake, do your driver changes and stuff like that. You don't even need to go into the BIOS to, you know, put a setting on or anything like that. So that in itself is brilliant for an overclocker. That's the ratio plus and minus button I spoke about, and this is the frequency up and the frequency down. Now you can either do 1 megahertz, or if you press the gear button you can actually do 1/10 of a megahertz as well. So that in itself again is brilliant. You've got the PCI readout here, so should you run into problems you can fault find. This was crucial for me because that's how I worked out, you know, what had gone on my 980. It was actually the 980, when it did go, it looks like I killed the memory control on it, even though I wasn't running astronomical QPI or anything like that, but it was always hanging on C1, which is a memory issue. Apart from the memory was fine, the board was fine, so we think that we killed the memory controller on the 980, but obviously we don't know for 100%. Now, where we're actually kind of talking about a review, I'll go around some of the features. There are fan headers everywhere around the board. Now, this is not necessarily super important with an overclocker's board, because I generally run mine from Molex anyway and just run everything at 12 volt because sound's not necessarily a problem. But if you're balancing fans up and stuff, you could find it very helpful. I will note as well that these SATA ports here are to provide extra power for the PCI Express. So if you're running multiple cards, you can give your PCI Express some extra power with these, and that's just so that you're loading a different part of your power supply rather than having it on the Molex. You can load a different part of your power supply. Again, this is just a way where, you know, the thought is going in to be able to make stable overclocks and keep everything together. I did speak to you previously about the back panel, and if you have a look, I'll pull all this out so you can see how little there is on the back. You've literally got 2 PS2. I actually prefer using PS2 for when I'm doing silly overclocks, and that's just because you can get into the BIOS easier. You don't get the problems with the USB not reading, so you can't get into the BIOS in time, so that's all easy. 2 USBs, your network, very basic sound, and then a couple of USB 3s should you need them. So it is, you know, it's still there. You can see just here you've got another couple of system fans. There's one hidden here as well, but obviously that's absolutely covered in putty at the moment. You've also got the voltage readouts here. Another fan header, another fan header. Now, I didn't want to do this part of the review because I've done it in the preview previously, but I just thought, you know what I mean, I'd give you a good look. These parts do light up here as well. But anyway, I'm going to stick you back on the tripod.
Right then guys, I didn't really want to go around the board too much like that, but like I said, look at the other videos. This isn't kind of the look at the motherboard bit, this is just me giving you my own opinions and thoughts and everything like that. And underneath the video I'm going to post the 6 GHz link as well, so you'll be able to go and have a look at everything. But the thing is like I've said, and I'm going to stress this again, I hadn't done any sub-zero overclocking before. The reason why I did it and got into it was because of this board, and I was going to be trying to do this board justice. I kind of hope that I have, in a way. I'd love to have done more benching. I'd love to have done like more, you know, benchmark runs and stuff like that, to be able to really have got in there and tweaked it a lot more. But to be perfectly honest with you, what I did do, I absolutely loved. Hitting 6 GHz, I can remember when I hit 5 GHz, and that was with my 970, so it wasn't that long ago. When I joined the 5 GHz club with the 970, I was absolutely chuffed. Didn't think I was going to be hitting 6 this soon, I really didn't. And I've got to say, it's because of, yes, alright, because of the dry ice, because of the intense cooling, but it was the board as well, and how easy this board made it. If I was using other boards, I would have had to have been going in BIOS and actually trying to get into Windows and stuff like that to be able to have got up to that 6. I honestly don't know whether I would have done it. Or if I did, I probably would have been using a lot more volts and definitely running the risk of killing the second processor. I don't honestly think I would have got anywhere near the clocks that I did with the 980 in the first place either. So basically guys, this is the way we're going to do it. I'm going to tell you now. Overclock 3D Gold Award, because this, for overclocking, it's literally the best X58 motherboard on the planet as far as I'm concerned, and I have overclocked and used a lot of these boards. Okay, this is the first time that I've used one with, and I've gone sub-zero, but I really don't think that you're going to find a better board than this. It was incredibly stable over the course of the tests. Like I said to you, 5.4 GHz, I was running the chip at and benchmarking at those speeds, and it wasn't just like a 30-second flipping, or like a couple of minutes, sorry, running W prime. I was running 3D Mark Vantage, then I run 3D Mark 11, then I was running PC Mark Vantage and PC Mark 11. So we're not talking about a quick run, we're talking about some very extended testing. And I was doing that with, did it with the 590, I did it with the GTX 560 Super Overclock, and then I chucked a 5500 in there as well. And I did it with all of those cards just to, you know what I mean, just so that we had some results. And when it was benching, never had a blue screen once. Okay, yeah, I did go back to a safe 5.4 with safe voltages, but it was absolutely good. Once it was there, and it was fine. So we're going to give it an Overclock 3D Gold Award for that, but we're also going to give it a Performance Award, because let's face it, 6 GHz, you can't moan at that. But it was also the fact that we were able to get that 6 GHz with someone that was, with my experience. I'd like to call myself, you know what I mean, a novice, or do you know what I mean, maybe an enthusiast, and definitely no professional when it comes to doing stuff like this. But the thing is so we've given it a Gold Award, we've given it the Performance Award. We can't really give it any, you know, better or higher accolades than that. But the thing is, if you are looking to get into overclocking and you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to start with a bit of water, learn your trade, learn your chip, get to know it, and then you're going to start moving on to sort of like getting 950s and 970s or whatever, and really pushing the clocks, you're not going to get a better board than this. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is where it's at. High Cookie has done the X58 platform justice, and this board is absolutely flipping amazing. To try and put things into perspective, I know this has been a long video of me chatting, and I really don't mind. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But this board has actually given me the overclocking bug back. Overclocking had come to be, you know, something I did for the norm. It's something I was just doing for work. But this, combined with the dry ice and the fun that we've had over the weekend and hitting that 6 GHz milestone, is actually, I'm now shopping, because I borrowed the dice pot, I'm now shopping to get myself a dice stroke LN2 pot to have here. And you may be seeing more videos of me playing around very soon, because I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. I don't think I've enjoyed myself this much since I had the Asus Aries here, let's put it that way. And you know what I mean, that was a big thing getting those, but yes, absolutely cracking. I can't really say much more about it. If you're in, you know, two minds and you're setting up yourself a, you know, I mean, a standalone overclocking system, and you're thinking about this or maybe something else, the only thing I can say, guys, don't give it a second thought. Get this, get in there, and literally, you're going to be breaking your own records all over the place. If not, you're going to be breaking other people's. But the thing I would like to say is, if you do start breaking records and stuff with this board, then let me know, because I am 100% interested in anything anyone does get with this. So for argument's sake, it may only be a personal best, but let me know. I really am interested to see what you guys get out of this as well, to see whether your experiences are as good and as sort of like beamingly smiled as mine. So looking at the clock on the camera, I can see that I have been chatting for an awful long time now. But like I said, Overclocked 3D Gold Award, Overclocked 3D Performance Award, and it's going to get the Put a Smile on TTL's Face Award as well, because this thing is absolutely cracking. Can't really say, you know, much more about it than that. As I said before, please check the other videos, and yeah, Tiny Tom Logan with a massive grin on his face, out.